6 BCE. You're a Roman father. Your family is respected, wealthy, connected to the right names, the right circles, the right power. You've done exactly what a man like you is expected to do. You've arranged a perfect marriage for your daughter. She's 16, maybe 17. Beautiful, educated, raised carefully to reflect every Roman ideal, virtue, obedience, restraint. She knows how to lower her eyes when spoken to. She knows when to remain silent. She knows her future is not hers to choose. The wedding is flawless. The ceremony unfolds without error. The feast is extravagant. Guests laugh. Wine pours freely. Music fills the air. This is what success looks like in Rome. Your daughter smiles because she has been taught that smiling is part of her duty. Then comes the final ritual, the one no one discusses openly, the one never described in detail. As she's led away, she turns back just once. Her eyes find yours. There's confusion in them, fear, a question she doesn't yet know how to form. You look away, not because you don't love her, but because you know exactly what's about to happen, and you know you cannot stop it. This is the ritual Rome buried so deeply that historians are still reconstructing it centuries later. What I'm about to tell you is not myth, it's not rumor, it's documented practice, and it exposes a brutal intersection of religion, law, and power that forces us to rethink what ancient Rome really was. Here's what we know for certain. Between roughly 300 BCE and 200 CE, Roman marriage law included a provision that appears again and again in legal texts, referenced, enforced, but almost never explained. Later medieval writers would call it ius primae noctis. In Rome, it had another name, ditus devorum, an offering to the gods. And now listen carefully to what Roman fathers never told their daughters. Marriage in Roman law was not a partnership. It was a transfer of ownership. A woman moved from the authority of her father to the authority of her husband. This transfer was called manus. But before that transfer could be finalized, before a woman could legally become a wife, she had to be purified. That is the exact word used in Roman legal language. Purificar. Purified. Rome's foundational legal code, the 12 Tables, contains a short but devastating clause. It states that no bride of proper Roman lineage may enter marriage without purification by the appointed guardians of divine will. That's how the priests were described. Guardians of divine will. Specifically, the sacerdotes Bonae Dei, priests of the good goddess, a fertility cult deeply woven into Roman religious life. And this is where everything turns dark. Roman religion was transactional. You gave something to the gods, and the gods gave something back. Grain for fertility, wine for victory, animals for protection. A clean, brutal exchange. But in the case of marriage, the offering wasn't livestock. It wasn't wine. It was the bride herself. Think about that. You're 16 years old. You've been trained your entire life to obey. You know your duty. You know your place. But no one told you this part. No one explained that before you belong to your husband, you belong to the gods. And the gods demand proof. The law refuses to explain what that proof looks like. Archaeology does. Across Rome, beneath major temples, researchers have uncovered purpose-built underground chambers. These are not burial crypts. They aren't storage rooms. They aren't accidental spaces. They are something else entirely. Stone beds carved directly from solid rock. Channels cut into the floor for liquid drainage. Doors engineered to lock only from the outside. In 2003, Excavations beneath the temple of Bona Dea on the Aventine Hill uncovered one of these chambers fully intact. What archaeologists found inside changed everything. The walls weren't covered in prayers, not hymns, not invocations to the gods. They were covered in names, hundreds of names, all female, each paired with a date. Those dates align precisely with known Roman wedding celebrations from the same periods. British archaeologist Catherine Johns spent 3 years documenting the inscriptions. Her 27-page report concluded, "These appear to be records of women who underwent a ritual process in this space." She added that while the ritual itself was not explicitly described, the contextual evidence strongly suggested a direct connection to marriage rites. Not explicitly described is academic language for something very specific. We know exactly what happened here. We just don't like saying it out loud. So I'll say it plainly. This was where priests claimed the right to consummate the marriage before the husband. The process followed a strict pattern. After the public ceremony, after the feast, after the laughter faded and the music stopped, the bride was escorted to the temple, not by her husband. He was not allowed to accompany her. Instead, she was led by female attendants, older women, women who had already endured the same ritual. They guided her down narrow stone stairs, away from torchlight and celebration, into cold corridors beneath the earth. The air was damp, the walls closed in. Every step carried her farther from the world she knew. At the end of the passage stood a door. Behind it waited a priest, or several. The sources disagree on the number. Much of the written testimony survives only in fragments, because later generations worked very hard to destroy it. The playwright Plautus, writing around 205 BCE, referenced the practice in a comedy that was later heavily censored. Only pieces remain. In one surviving fragment, a character says, "The gods take their portion before any man. That is the law. It has always been the law." Another character asks, "And the bride? What does she receive?" The reply, "The blessing of purification, if she survives it." That line was removed in later copies. The philosopher Lucretius addressed the ritual even more directly in the 1st century BCE. Medieval monks attempted to erase the passage entirely. We only have it today because a single manuscript survived, rediscovered in 1417. Lucretius wrote, "The rites of Bona are called sacred, but they are terror. What the priest claims to offer the gods, he takes for himself, and the law shields this theft with the word divine." Read that again. The law shields this theft with the word divine. Now understand how this system worked. You are a Roman father. You know this ritual exists. You know your daughter will endure it. But you cannot refuse, because it isn't called violence. It's called religion. It isn't assault. It's purification. It isn't a crime. It's divine law. The system is perfectly insulated against resistance. The priests claim holiness. The law enforces silence. Society calls it tradition, and the girls disappear into chambers beneath the temples. What makes this practice so difficult to reconstruct isn't a lack of evidence. It's the silence that was engineered around it. Roman women who survived the ritual were not merely discouraged from speaking, they were legally forbidden. In 169 BCE, the Lex Vaconia introduced strict provisions regarding religious secrecy. Any woman who revealed the mysteries of sacred rites could be charged with impietas. The penalties were severe: exile, loss of property, in some cases, death. This is why the historical record looks the way it does. The victims were silenced by law. The perpetrators cloaked their actions in holiness. and the men who wrote history were either participants in the system or beneficiaries of it. When later scholars complain that the sources are fragmentary, they are describing the result of a system designed to make speaking impossible. But power always misunderstands one thing about silence. Silence is not the same as forgetting. And when speech is forbidden, people find other ways to testify. In the 1920s, archaeologists excavating a villa in Pompeii uncovered a room that immediately unsettled them. It wasn't sealed by volcanic ash. It had been deliberately walled shut before the eruption of Vesuvius. Someone had hidden it. Inside was a fresco. At first glance, it appeared ordinary, a conventional Roman wedding scene. A bride and groom standing together, guests gathered, ritual gestures frozen in paint. Everything looked exactly as it should, until you noticed the background. There, almost invisible unless you knew where to look, a second scene unfolded. A woman was being led down a staircase by robed figures. Her body twisted backward. Her face turned toward a man standing above her. He reached for her, frozen in place, unable or unwilling to follow. The painter had given extraordinary attention to her expression, more care than the bride in the foreground. Fear, confusion, betrayal. The archaeologist who documented the fresco wrote, "The technical precision of the hidden figure exceeds that of the central scene." The painter clearly intended the background image to be remembered. Someone painted that knowing they could never speak openly. Painting was safer than testimony. Hiding it was safer still. They sealed the room and trusted time to do what the law would not. Preserve the truth. It worked. 2,000 years later, we're still looking at it. After the ritual, the bride was returned to her wedding celebration.